Hello everyone and welcome back to Before the Basket. It was definitely not the easiest road game for Indiana this week, but they escaped with a win over Minnesota. With the unexpectedly narrow margin of victory, there are certainly a lot of things to talk about. Plus, Indiana's opponent this weekend, Ohio State, also struggled on the road. Joining us today are Kevin Vera and Griffin Epstein. How are you guys doing today?
It's good to be here, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. A lot of exciting basketball to talk about.
Yeah, it certainly has been an exciting season in the Big Ten, and we're going to get straight into highlights for Indiana's game at Minnesota. The fans at the barn were definitely ready to defend it against Indiana. Starting off, Jamison Battle was cooking against Indiana all night, hitting the three there. He led Minnesota with 17 points. Jalen Hood-Schifino knifing down the lane, a lob, and a slam by Trayce Jackson-Davis. Talk about eyes at the rim for the IU big man. Grace Thompson at the line, looking to give Indiana the lead. He misses, but Trayce Jackson-Davis is there for the putback, and that ended up being the game-winning play for Indiana. They got the win 61-57. Trayce Jackson-Davis had 25 points, 21 rebounds, and 6 blocks in another dominating performance. After the game, Yasir Rosemond, who filled in as head coach as Mike Woodson was out with COVID, had nothing but great things to say about Jackson-Davis.
Trayce has been big time. I think his leadership has really been good. I mean, his leadership has been excellent. Just some of the things he's been doing the last, 3 or 4 games last week, it's just been amazing. And I think it's because he's finally healthy.
Trayce was obviously excellent against the Golden Gophers, but there were plenty of other issues. And Kevin, I'll start with you. What went wrong for Indiana?
I mean, kind of guard play was the thing that stuck out to me. Jalen the whole time, was able to get a couple good looks early on in the game, but he kind of just floated from there. He wasn't really able to get much going. And Tamar Bates also, he kind of wasn't able to get things, into control, but it's just guard play. Indiana should have outperformed them, especially in that area. Well, I mean, in the whole game, really, but they just struggled with the guards.
Yeah, Griffin?
Well, Minnesota played a zone defensively, and they always say the way to break a zone is to make threes, and Indiana could not do that last night. They made just 4 threes. They really struggled. They had some open looks. It wasn't just that they were jacking up threes all over the place and not making it, but they just couldn't hit threes. As Kevin said, it wasn't really a good performance by any guard on Indiana. Trey Galloway missed some open looks. Tamar Bates, who had a really good game last time out, looked out of sorts offensively. And so their only option was really inside to Jackson-Davis, and there was nowhere else to go offensively, so they really struggled for most of the game.
Yeah, three-point shooting was definitely a problem for them, and it seemed like they just struggled with the zone once again, which has plagued them on the road so frequently at the last few years. And Griffin, do you think it was a gritty win at the end or a fluky or a lucky win?
I mean, there certainly was some luck involved in getting out a victory, but at the same time, whenever you get a road victory in the Big Ten, and especially where Indiana doesn't play well, hey, they found a way to win. And for the Hoosiers, it was good for them to get a close game. They'd only played really 2 close games all season long, and in the end, they found a way to win in the last moment. They played well, very well defensively down the stretch, so they do have to be happy with that, but certainly lucky in some ways. Because if they were playing a team that was a little bit better than Minnesota, this is Minnesota probably the worst team in the Big Ten, they would have certainly lost with how badly they played offensively.
Yeah, real quick, Kevin, what do you think?
I mean, I think you hit it right on the head there at the end. If they were playing anybody else in the Big Ten on the road, they lose that game. But I think Indiana just won that game not because they played well or because they were able to find things out near the end of the game. They just won because they're more talented, and that's what got them the win.
Yeah, and Griffin, I like what you said. They haven't played in a lot of close games this season, so the experience there was definitely worthwhile. And now we're going to get to Ohio State, who also struggled on the road this week at Illinois. Fans were packing the State Farm Center where Indiana played just last week, but this time the home team took care of business. Illinois was getting out in transition early. Terrence Shannon with the steal and the slam. He finished with a game-high 17 points, and defense continued to be there for Illinois. Dane Danger with the steal. Coleman Hawkins on the break. The kick out. Jaden Epps for 3. Splash. And in the half court, Matthew Meyer gets around his defender, knifing down the lane, and gets the layup up and in for 2. Illinois controlled for most of the game and closed out the Buckeyes by the score of 69-60. It's been a rough start to the Big Ten season for the Buckeyes. The loss to Illinois marked its 6th loss in 7 games, but they still rank favorably in computer rankings. They're 20th in KenPom and 27th in the net coming into Thursday. And Griffin, I'll start with you. What have they done well so far this season?
Well, the analytics like them because statistically, at least, they're a really good offensive team. They're the best three-point shooting team in the Big Ten. They're one of the best scoring offenses and overall shooting offenses in the Big Ten, and they played well early in the season. A lot of it was against not good competition, but they put up 80 to 90 points. They have a lot of talent on the team, but we'll talk more about it later. That talent and offense has certainly faded away over the last month.
Kevin?
I mean, kind of to go off the same thing, they've been able to get the looks, and when they can create space, they're an okay team. Like we mentioned, they have all the talent in the world, but when that space is not there, everything just kind of falls apart.
The talent is definitely there, but they just haven't been able to close out opponents in close games. Griffin, what's gone poorly for them this year?
Well, the offense is really fallen apart in January. You look at their 1-6 in January, 5 of those games, they failed to score 70 points. And you think of Chris Holtmann in Ohio State, offense is their identity. They always have really talented offensive playmakers. They put up points in a hurry. The defense going to be more average. So they've kind of lost their identity, and I think they're just a team that's now completely out of sorts. They don't have confidence. And you talk about that Illinois game. It was kind of startling to read the post-game articles. They basically said, we just had a horrible week of practice coming in, and we kind of knew we had no shot against Illinois because we were practicing horribly. That's a sign of a team that's got some serious internal issues.
Yeah, it definitely does. And Kevin?
You kind of beat me to it. I was going to bring up that same point about practice, but it seems to be that because this team is so talented and everything just kind of fell apart right now, Chris Holtmann has not been able to find a good starting lineup. The lineup has fluctuated multiple times throughout the season, and because if there's no solid foundation, it doesn't matter if it's the lineup at practice or at games, things are just going to fall apart.
And that's part of the problem when you bring in so many new faces, even if they have so much talent, a lot of good freshmen, some good transfers in the portal as well, but if you can't get a good lineup, it really hurts the team. And let's look ahead to Saturday night's primetime matchup. It should be a great one. Ohio State has a lot of talent, like we said, but will anyone be able to contain Trace Jackson Davis because he's been on a tear recently? Kevin?
I don't think so. I mean, Trace has been putting up numbers that I don't think we'll see for a long time. Trace has been able to do something that not many players can do, and he's starting to show the rest of the country that, he's going to go up against Zach Edey and Jalen Wilson for National Player of the Year.
Yeah, Griffin, do you think Zed Key and the other forwards will be able to contain him?
Well, yeah, Zed Key is the key to trying to stop Jackson Davis, and I don't think he's a very good matchup to start Trace. He's shorter, but he's bigger, so he's not super athletic. Jackson Davis is really good at taking big men off the dribble because he's an especially athletic 5. I think he's been able to use a lot of his movement. You see often him running the baseline up and unders to take advantage of Key. Key is also not fully healthy. He's been in and out of the lineup in January. He played against Illinois, but didn't really look fully healthy, and there's not a lot of depth behind him. So say he gets into foul trouble, I think Ohio State could really be in trouble. And Kevin says it right. I mean, Jackson Davis is playing special basketball, and Indiana fans should really just enjoy watching him because he will be gone soon.
And this could be a game where 2 freshmen might shine the brightest, 2 players that will likely be in the Big Ten All-Freshman team, in Bryce Sensabaugh and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Kevin, who do you think will shine brighter on Saturday?
It's going to be tough, but I'll go with Jalen just simply because of what he's shown earlier this year. He's kind of struggled as of late in the couple of past games, I should say. But if he can find that open mid-range shot that he's been able to get locked down so far this year, he's going to be the star.
I think Sensabaugh has an opportunity to have a big game on Saturday night. Prime time, NBA prospect, big crowd. He's a guy that can really shoot the lights out. Their top scorer, really talented freshman. I don't think Indiana has anyone that can guard him really well. We saw Jamison Battle go off for Minnesota on Wednesday night. Indiana just does not have a lot of good perimeter defenders. And meanwhile, Hood-Schifino has struggled to shoot the ball lately. I think Sensabaugh has a chance to really go off for Ohio State. Will be enough to win. We'll see.
Yeah, Jalen Hood-Schifino has struggled recently, but you never know what can happen with the bright lights. And that's going to be it for this week's episode of Behind the Basket. The Hoosiers and the Buckeyes take the court at 8 p.m. on Saturday. It should be an exciting one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.